Welcome. This is Algebra 1B, Part 1, Unit 5, Lesson 11, Graphs of Quadratic Equations. We're going to graph the following quadratic equation, y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. And we're going to do so using something called a t-table. It looks like a t-table or like a t, the letter t, when it has two columns. This one's going to have three columns because I'm going to show the substitution in the middle column. But basically what it amounts to is a technique you can use to graph any function whatsoever. You pick values of x, you substitute those into the formula for x, and work it out until you find out what y is when x equals that number. And then you can plot that point that corresponds with that x input and that y output. This is known as substitution or t-tables. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to start by putting the formula x squared minus 2x minus 3 in the middle. And we're going to substitute one at a time. So x squared, negative 1 squared, minus 2 times negative 1 minus 3. And I'm going to do some scratch work off to the right. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Negative 3. 2 and 1 is 3, minus 3 is 0. So we get out 0. Then I'm going to substitute 0. 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3. 0 squared is 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. Negative 3. 0, 0, and negative 3 is negative 3. So that's negative 3. Substitute 1. 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 3. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 and negative 3 is negative 4. Use a calculator if you need to, by the way. Substitute 2. 2 squared minus 2 times 2 minus 3. 2 squared is 2 times 2, or 4. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. So we get negative 4 minus 4 is 0. Minus 3 is negative 3. And then substitute 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3. 3 squared is 9. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 minus 3. 9 minus 6 is 3, and 3 minus 3 is 0. And now let's go ahead and plot these points. Okay, we're going to just put a little plus sign in for the origin on my graph paper rather than taking the time to draw formal axes here. And I'm going to plot negative 1, 0. I'm going to plot 0, negative 3. I'm going to plot 1, negative 4. And 2, negative 3. And 3, 0. And you'll notice the clean U shape that we get. The shape is called a parabola. Para meaning to come alongside, bola to throw. So literally it means to throw alongside. And the lowest point here is right here along this line. You'll notice this line divides the graph into two equal parts, two symmetrical parts. Notice it goes through 1 on the x-axis, hence it has the equation x equals 1. This is known as the axis of symmetry. And the point on the graph right here, the lowest point on the graph, which is 1, negative 4, has a name. It's called the vertex. The vertex is the point of greatest curvature in the parabola. You can think of it like a corner. In fact, in a triangle or a square, a vertex is the corner. But in the parabola, it is the point of greatest curvature. It's usually the maximum or the minimum or the lowest or the highest point. This one happens to be the highest. And this parabola opens up, we know, because the leading coefficient on the squared is positive. Positive will point up, negative will open down. Okay, so that's the parts. The parabola is a U shape, para meaning alongside, bola to throw alongside, and then it's got an axis of symmetry, a line that divides it in half, and then it's got a vertex. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more. That's not quite so easy here. This one, you may notice, has a negative on the x squared term, so we know this is going to open downward. Okay, it's going to open downward. And we don't know where the vertex is going to be, so let's just pick some values and see what we get. So x, so I'm going to try -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to see what I get out of those and see if we can get a picture of where that is. We're going to plug it in -2x squared plus 12x minus 5. This goes to the question. You don't know necessarily what x values to pick. Okay, and so there's some guessing going on here. And we may get an interesting part. We may get the vertex in the graph. We may not. We may need to pick some new points to go on. And that is all right. It's kind of like exploring. If you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, it's like having a dungeon map exposed one piece, one point at a time. All right, so -2 times -1 squared plus 12 times -1 minus 5. 1 squared is 1 times -2 is -2. Minus 12 minus 5, -14, -17. -17. 0, -2 times 0 squared plus 12 times 0 minus 5. All of these are 0, it's just -5. So we're coming up rather rapidly. -2 times 1 squared plus 12 times 1 minus 5. 1 squared is 1 times -2 is -2. 12 times 1 is 12 minus 5. -2 and 12 is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. So we're above the x-axis here now. And then -2 times 2 squared plus 12 times 2 minus 5. 2 squared is 4. -2 times 4 is -8. 12 plus 12 times 2 is 24 minus 5. And -8 plus 24 is 16 minus 5 is 11. Okay. And then 3, -2 times 3 squared plus 12 times 3 minus 5. 3 squared is 9. -2 times 9 is -18. 12 times 3 is 36 minus 5. -18 plus 36 is +18. 18 minus 5 is 13. Okay, we haven't reached the peak here, so I'm going to add some more. 4. -2 times 4 squared plus 12 times 4 minus 5. 4 squared is 16 times 2 is -36. 12 times 4 is 48. -36 plus 48 is 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. Okay, and let's see. I wonder if I did that right. 12 minus 5 is 7. I might have to check my arithmetic on some of these. And 5. -2 times 5 squared plus 12 times 5 minus 5. 5 squared is 25 times 2 is -50. 12 times 5 is 50 and 10 is 60 minus 5. Okay, and -50 and 60 is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Yeah, I think I messed up right here. The third one. -2. Actually, yeah, the third one was this one. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 12 times 2 is 24 minus 5. Negative 8 and 24. Let's think negative 8 and negative 5 is negative 13. Yeah, that's 11. Okay. Another way to check here is this. You can use Desmos. And this is kind of a cool way to do it here. You can do this. You can enter the formula, negative 2a squared plus 12a minus 5. And then just tell it to let a equal negative 1. Negative 19. Negative 2a squared plus 12a minus 5. Negative 19, not negative 17. Okay. And 0 is negative 5. Yep. And 1 equals 1 is 5. Yep. A equals 1 is 5. And a equals 2 is 11. A equals 3 is 13. A equals 4 is 11. So I messed up somewhere on the 4. 4 squared is 16 times 2 is negative 30, 32, 34, 34. There it is. Yeah, there's the arithmetic error, 11. You see how tricky this can be. And then 5 is 5. Yeah. And 4 is 11. And 5 is 5. There we go. All right. Whew. I made one arithmetic error right here. That's what did it. All right. So, just to show how fun it is to do these. Now we can graph and we can discover some things about the parabola from the graph. Okay. And so let's go ahead and graph here. Now we're going as far as negative 17, as high as 11. So we're going to want to zoom out here a little bit here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm going to put the origin down here. Okay. Negative 1, negative 17. So let's zoom out. Zoom around the room. Okay, here we go. Nice that I can do this. Okay, negative 1, negative 17. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Didn't zoom out enough. Let's try it again. Negative 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Okay. And 0, negative 5, 2, 4, 5. And 1, 5, 2, 4, 5. And 2, 11. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. And 3, 13. 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. And then following it on down, 4, 11, 5, 5. So we found the highest point. So the vertex is at 13, 3, 13. And the axis of symmetry is at x equals 3. Okay, all right, so that's it. Fun. Lots of calculation. Feel free to use your calculator. If you want any help using your Desmos calculator, book a live lesson with me.